Hello and welcome to the M.B.Om podcast, where you will learn to master the business of yoga with guests from around the world who have experienced becoming successful yoga teachers, studio owners, and much more. Now, here's your host, Amanda Kingsmith.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the M.B.Om podcast. I'm super excited that you've decided to join me for this episode of the show. Today on the podcast, I am super excited to be rejoined by Tara Newbigging. Tara was one of my very first guests on M.B.Om way back in season 1, and she was actually the very first person that I reached out to for an interview of the whole podcast. There were a couple other people that were first on my mind when I decided to start M.B.Om, and Tara has always struck me as just a really badass entrepreneur. Like, she is a total boss babe. She embodies yoga, her brand Booty, wellness, fitness. She is just an all-around superstar, both on the mat, in the studio, on the mountain, and just in her business in general. So in that first episode, which I will link in the show notes, we talk about creating your own brand. So going from being a personal trainer to a yoga teacher and combining all the things that she loved, from dance to running to fitness to stretching to yoga, and creating this brand Booty. Now it's been pretty much 3 years since I talked to her, and so much has happened with her business. So we start this episode by talking about that growth, about training these leaders across Canada and across the globe, and then about starting a studio. So not only does she teach Booty, but she also has yoga and yoga-like offerings, as well as fitness programs. We talk about what it's been like to grow this brand that she developed, what it's been like to kind of hand over her baby to other people and let them teach it and run with it across the world, as well as what it's like to open a studio in her hometown of Canmore. So we cover a ton on this episode, and I hope that you guys really enjoy it. Before we dive in, I have 2 quick things that I want to talk about. The first is that if you listened to last week's episode of the podcast, I announced that I am going to be running a yoga retreat in November. So I just wanted to give you a little bit more detail about that. So it's happening November 2nd to 9th in Nusara, Costa Rica. It's going to be at the Bodhi Tree Yoga Resort. And just Google that place. It is absolutely stunning. It is going to be a really beautiful week there. It's 8 days with the travel and then 7 nights. And I am co-leading it with Megan Farrell from Balance with Megan. And Megan is a fellow Canadian. She's a fellow yoga teacher, and she's also a yoga business badass. She is totally into the business side of things. And so what we've decided to do is to create a really special week for yogis, yoga teachers, wellness professionals, people who are interested in a week of community. Basically, we want to eat good food in the sunshine, have lots of beach and relaxation time, but also do a lot of yoga and do some workshops where we can work on things like branding, social media, theming in your classes, and just to have those conversations that we don't get to have all the time. I think that people imagine that yoga teachers just hang out all the time with other yoga teachers, but it's actually kind of a lonely profession because you spend so much time with your students and you have to be so intentional about actually getting together with other yoga teachers. So here's your chance. Join us for a week in the warmth and the sunshine on the beautiful beaches of Costa Rica. If this is something you're interested in, you have a couple ways to reach out. You can find it on my website, mbomyoga.com/retreats. There will be a link in the show notes as well. You can also just send me an email, info@mbomyoga.com. If you want to chat about it, if you have any questions, I'm totally open to that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that I've got another Schedulicity hot tip of the week. This week we were talking about studios, so it's really well themed with the podcast episode for this week, and it is with Shayna.
Hello, yoga business badasses. This is Shayna with Schedulicity. We've heard some interesting things about opening a new yoga studio. Some say that there are always unforeseeable challenges, and others say that starting out can feel too easy, like you're almost forgetting to do something important. Signing up for a Schedulicity account when you're ready to open your new studio can help you make sure you've thought about your business essentials like waivers, payment, automated email marketing, and a website that shows up in search results. And the next time you open a new studio or add another location, you can transition seamlessly. This also goes a long way to help make sure your business partners and employees stay organized together.
And if you are interested in Schedulicity, you can head on over to schedulicity.com, or you can send them an email at support@schedulicity.com. Their team is seriously rock stars. They've been so helpful the entire time that I've been working with them, both as a customer and from the side of podcast sponsorship and partnership. So I would definitely recommend reaching out to them. And as you know, if you listen to the podcast a lot, I don't work with companies that I don't use personally, that I don't believe in. And one of the things that I really love about Schedulicity is that they work with a ton of different types of people, but yoga teachers are one of their main target audiences, and they're continuously looking at what you need in your business. So looking at offering something that's affordable, that's effective, that's a one-stop shop. We all know that we did not start teaching yoga so we could spend all of our time sending out newsletters and finding booking software and finding different ways to accept payment. And Schedulicity also recognizes that. It is seriously a one-stop shop for everything that you need. So I think you guys get how awesome Schedulicity is, so I will stop talking and let you get to the podcast episode. Without further ado, here's Tara. Tara, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you back here today, a couple years after we talked for the first time.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you again and connecting and seeing how far things have changed over the last little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I obviously know just from seeing you, in Canmore, where we both live, or where I live for some of the year, seeing your business grow, but I'm really excited to hear about it and share it with listeners. So we talked, it was either the very, very end of 2015 / beginning of 2016. We talked before I actually launched M.B.Om. You were one of my very, very first episodes. And at that point, you were running Booty. You had one Booty leader, and you were just teaching around town and trying to spread Booty to a couple of cities. Can you take me from that point up until where you are now with your business?
Yeah, I sure can, but it's quite the journey for sure. So 2015, I had settled into Canmore, kind of got my feet on the ground and sharing a Booty a little bit. People were starting to kind of get to know what it was, but still there was still this unknown thing about who I was and what I was in town doing, because I was teaching all over the place. So teaching for the town, renting different studios and trying to get Booty up and going. In the back end of the growth for like the brand specifically, I had certified my first leader in Ottawa, Gatineau, Quebec specifically, and went through the process of letting go as a creator and giving someone else my creation. Probably one of the hardest things I think I ever could do at that point, to teach someone, this ridiculous stuff that I had made up in my head and my mind and my body, and to really see if, is this thing bigger than just, me dancing to music and so I had certified her. She had been taking it on in Quebec, doing amazing things. And the same effects were happening. So women were falling in love with it. Women were healing. They were enjoying this new method of fitness and healing and movement. So time had gone on and I had decided, okay, well, maybe I should continue to certify a few more girls. And I had done another teacher training in Canmore. So I had about 5 more girls certified by the end of, I think it was the end of 2015. And then the movement just started happening. It would grow. They would share it. The same effects would be happening in all these different towns. And I thought, okay, this is amazing. Wow, this vision that I had back in Yellowknife when I had first created it is happening right in front of me. Like, Tara, it's here. So in the last couple of years, it was just growth, really, and learning and weeding out, what works as a creator and developing something that's from the bottom up, what's working, what's not working, where do I need to go, what needs to change. And I think, honestly, Amanda, one of the biggest loopholes and one of the hardest things was to just be able to go with the flow and have other people recognize that, okay, I'm not this big, huge company and the rules and the regulations are not necessarily in place, but if you believe in what I'm doing and you're going to come along for the ride with me and go through the ups and downs, then I promise you, the fruit will bear. And it's been amazing. I've had some awesome women come on board and really, truly live and breathe the brand and have impacts on women's life. And I get to just sit back and watch and see this amazing movement happen and continue on to share it. So that's kind of the side of Booty. And then last year, I was really feeling as though I didn't have a home. My brand had grown. I stepped back and I really focused in the last year on really developing the back end of the business. So I decided to incorporate, which was a huge step for me. And I decided that I needed to work on the business structure of things and really get clear and work on, all the legal documents, all of the Google Docs and the back end of how we deliver the brand. With more girls coming on board, I needed to get things a little bit more clean, a little bit more strict so that we could continue to have this success. So after a year of kind of working on the business, personally, I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't teaching enough. I wasn't doing my purpose. I wasn't living my why. And I needed to get back with the people. I need to get back with teaching. My creativity, it was there, but it really wasn't. I felt like I got up every day and I didn't really have a direction and a purpose because I wasn't necessarily teaching that much. And I felt as though I didn't really have anywhere to go. So it was kind of a big moment for me to realize, okay, well, what now? And, I was getting kind of fed up with renting different places, running different areas. And I could tell that my business was starting to fail in terms of in the community here. Where's Tara now? Where's she teaching? And what are these offerings? And it was just very confusing. So I kind of went through another journey of, feeling something and working through the fears of everything and then deciding, okay, I need another studio. I need to plant some new seeds and I need to continue on sharing this program that I created and sharing the things that I love to do, which is, help people connect mind, body, and soul through all different ways of movement. So I had decided to open up a studio in Canmore and get things up and running. And by October 1st, I had signed the lease at the middle of September. And by the end of September, we were up and running. I had some amazing people come into my life that helped me out, get the studio together. And I just did it super simple, super fast, but I needed to hit the ground running by October because I knew I could not go through another winter, another year, another season of not fully living my purpose. It just didn't feel right. So now I'm into, what do we got? October, November, December. I'm into 3 months now of having the studio and I love it. It's amazing. Not everyone knows about it yet. I think that I would love it if a few more people in the community would kind of come and check things out a little bit more. And there's a little bit of confusion as to what the studio is. Yes, I teach booty, but I also have a passion for sport conditioning and I teach yoga and I have a new program that I created called Rise. So opening Studio B is just kind of an open door for people to come in and connect in all different ways. So in the next coming months, I will be hosting some teacher trainings for Booty. It's basically like a headquarters for me to run some teacher trainings here and continue on with all of my other services and trust that the right people will come through the studio and come when they're ready, and for them to understand that, movement and fitness and wellness is not just about, developing this exterior body. It's really about the mind and the heart and the soul. And coming to different practices when they call you. So at times yoga might call us more, and at other times, free dance and movement might call us more. And at other times we need a little bit of strength and finding balance. And my sport conditioning classes definitely do that. So that's kind of where I'm at, sitting at the end of 2018 with over 65 booty leaders certified, and coming up onto a new teacher training. I've got about 7 more girls coming to take the teacher training. We're now a little bit more international. So we have a leader in Australia. We have a girl interested in the training who's maybe going to take it to Shanghai. And we have a lovely lady coming to take booty to Montana. So things are definitely spreading and growing in that area. And having a home base for me at the studio is just awesome. And I think, I'm looking forward to seeing what 2019 brings. I think that some new visions and some new goals and some new opportunities will be coming my way. And I'm just looking forward to accepting and seeing what comes.
Yeah. Wow. That's so amazing. Amazing to hear that. And it's crazy that all of that's happened in I guess 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. One thing that you said kind of early on with that story that I want to talk about a little bit was taking this creation and sharing it with other people. Cause I feel like, anything that you create personally, I feel like it is like a big undertaking to let somebody else take that into the world. And I would imagine that at, lots of points and still with yoga, there's people who are okay, you're taking this thing that I've shared with you and now you're spreading it. But with booty, it's this was something that came from you, from your mind. It's the things you were feeling, the way of releasing this energy. And what was that like sharing it with people and just seeing their responses and allowing them to take these creations and share it with their communities?
Well, it was interesting, and it came in stages, really. I think the first one came with excitement of, okay, cool. Maybe this thing that I see can be bigger. So sharing it with the first girl, that was interesting. It was okay, we're going to have a little mini test. And she was my friend and she is my friend. And so that was cool. But then honestly, to be completely honest, she was really successful with it. Everything I had taught her, everything I had grown with her and explained to her, what goes on in my ridiculous mind and why do we do this movements like this? And, all of my, I call it my Van Gogh brain. All of that, I download into these girls to understand and to really feel it. And so I think for me, there was a point of fear for sure. I felt like I was losing it. Seeing the massive growth in Gatineau where they were getting 50 girls a night at their classes. And I'm sitting in Canmore, can barely fill my classes, and just seeing them go through the motions of I sat and I thought, that's mine. That's not fair. I want that. And I worked through that for sure. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't easy. But then when I got to go down there and visit, when I got to go down there and share me with 200 girls here to do booty because of the gift that I had given that instructor to develop and grow and to share, and to hear the stories of other people and to be recognized for, thank you so much for creating this. It has changed my life. And to hear that, that definitely helped get over that hump. And then, there's different humps of feeling okay, well, girls, there's a few of them, maybe they're not fully doing it right, or they just couldn't get it and their classes weren't filling. And I felt okay, well, why are these girls having so much success and these ones not? And recognizing okay, I can't make them feel it. There's some girls that really feel it, but I can't make everyone fully embody it. Some of them do, some of them don't. So there was a letting go of control of what types of girls were coming in and how I was certifying them. And that process has gotten a lot clearer to me now. And I think the coolest thing for me, Amanda, is bringing in someone that has a passion for it. Maybe they're not as coordinated. Maybe they're not, fully fit. They can't keep up the whole hour of teaching a class, but then watching their progress as an instructor, or sure, I could call them a leader, as a leader, watching them develop over time, go through the stages of, okay, I'm new, I'm learning, I love this. I can't get up and lead a song. I don't know the choreography, or watching them not fully understand what it takes to embody the room energetically, and then seeing that growth and watching them develop, and having them come back to me and say, I understand now what you were talking about and I get it. And to see that progress makes me so happy. So after letting go of the fear of like, hey, they're going to take it from me, or, oh my goodness, this is growing, it's getting out of control. That was a little journey within myself, and that was great to go through. But then it kind of developed into, holy crap, watch this spread, and sitting back and like, I remember going up to Yellowknife, and I hadn't been there in a while, and watching the women like just love it, and seeing my instructor up there just shining so bright. And for me to not physically be leading anything and just watch that same energy and movement be released was powerful. So that's kind of the journey through letting it go. And then I would say that now there's a different stage that I'm at where, I'm bringing in new girls to now lead certifications. I'm bringing in about 5 girls that have been, by my side, who live and breathe the brand, who I see tremendous potential in and passion. And to now let go of, okay, so you guys have now been leaders teaching classes, but now to bring them into as educators, to really share why we're doing it, and develop girls underneath them to help support the growth of it. That's going to be another letting go process for me, but I've learned that the more that I can share this, the wider that it spreads, the more people it touches, and the more women get to experience it. And it's bigger than all of us. It's, yes, I might have created it, and yes, it might be my emotions and my stuff, but if at the end of the day it can help women heal, it makes me super happy. And I think my biggest thing is that, okay, these opportunities come back to me to spread wider, to, go and visit these places and to share myself physically live to these women. That would be my passion, is to kind of let it grow, let the instructors do their thing weekly, but then can I have the opportunity to make contact with these people eventually down the road? So
Yeah.
that's the whole process.
Yeah, I love it. That's so powerful too. I just feel like, thinking about just kind of like my personality and the way that I tend to, I feel like that would definitely be like that inner work would for sure be something that I would have to do as well. Like, I think it's hard to just let go of something that you're so passionate about and like let somebody else take it and make it their own. While obviously staying in the confines of what they're trained to do, but also like so powerful to see that. Like, it's amazing. Like, you created that and now it's spreading across the world. So that's definitely something to be proud of.
Yes, I'm very, very proud of learning to let go, because it's not easy, and it's the inner work. And I'm not going to lie, it still comes up at times, but it doesn't come up as often when the leaders really respect what they're doing, and when they really value and respect me, and when they see this is not mine either, this is Tara's creation. And when they really see that we are just funnels of this creation, that's when it's so beautiful. And I think too, Booty helps the leaders do a lot of inner work while they're leaders. So our team, our tribe, whatever you want to call it, they are such beautiful, amazing women. And when something comes up in their own personal life that needs to be dealt with, it sure gets dealt with to teach the class. So I think people are coming in without these like shells or without these, internal battles that make it difficult. So the business jives really well with all the women.
I love that. And so I think that a lot of people listening, like a lot of teachers, fitness teachers or yoga teachers, can kind of resonate with this struggle to find a teaching home. Like, I think that it's one of those things that you not only deal with early on in your career, but you deal with throughout your teaching career, because at any point a studio might not want what you offer. They might close, you might move. There's so many things that can happen. And I think for a lot of us, it's like, well, maybe I should just open a studio and then I know that I have a teaching home. And I know that for you, you said that that was kind of like a big decision process. What was sort of like your mindset from like the very first time that that came into your mind? Like, maybe I should own a studio, to actually like signing that lease?
Yeah. So from the moment that I left my first studio in Yellowknife, I knew that I was stepping into a territory of the unknown for sure. It was difficult. It was difficult to go different places and to leave, like, okay, well, I had a place where I could just do my thing, and then to go and to kind of live under different rules, or to find a home where, okay, it's going to work here. It might not be perfect, and this situation is not great, but I'll just do it. So I'd say that it always creeped in my mind, but I pushed it away. It always came up where I would be teaching and be like, oh, this is so annoying. I wish I could just do this. Or, oh, it would be so much easier scheduling, and the anxiety would go away if I just knew that I didn't have to wait on answers of when I can have this and when I can have that, or, not knowing for sure whether I had those time slots, and having to deal with teaching at 8 o'clock at night because there was nowhere to go. So it had just dawned on me like, oh my goodness, I really need a place. And I went home in August of 2018, and I went to the fitness convention. And I can remember thinking, I got to make a shift. And for me, Amanda, like every August, every September, that's when I tend to do big things for some reason. I have no idea why, but I went home and I remember going to the fitness convention. I remember all of the sessions, and everyone in the industry was all talking about all this mind body movement and how fitness is becoming more about the mind. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, oh my gosh, like I've been doing this for 6-7 years now, maybe longer. Like, okay, what I got going on, like it's a powerful thing. It's a good thing. And I came back. I don't even know. I was just looking, and I remember thinking, I got to find a space. I'm going to go. And I looked into the back of this mall with a space that was filled with boxes. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm scared. I can't do this. Asking other professionals in the area who I know are teaching all different places. I asked them if they wanted to go into partnership and do things together. And no one could really commit. And then I just kept thinking, okay, I just got to do this. I just got to do this. I'm so scared, but I know I need to do this. And I had to work through old fears, because old fears were coming up from my previous studio in Yellowknife. Old fears of, oh my gosh, it's going to own me. I'm going to have no life. I'm not going to be able to go running in the mountains and have time off, because I'm going to be just like it was in Yellowknife. But that's that's not true, because it's a different season. It's a different time. It's a different me now. And fears of, oh my gosh, can I really cover the rent? Can I make it work? Am I going to make enough money? And I literally just had to really just work through every single fear that came up. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm so scared, but I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to think about the money. I'm not going to think about the what ifs. I'm not going to think about all of these stupid, ridiculous fears that are coming up in my head. And I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go step by step and breathe through it. And before I know it, it will be done, and I know I'll be happy. So yeah, and then I ended up signing the lease and getting the floor underway. And I remember as soon as I saw step by step the process of, okay, the studio is painted. I picked the floors went in. Details got done in terms of like the electrical and the logo and the design, and starting to then be creative with picking my schedule and putting the word out in the marketing material and rebuilding the new website. Like I did it all myself. And I know it's not perfect, but I don't really care, because the first week when I got to do the open house and I got to stand in this white space, this home, this groundingness that got created for me, and the people flooded in and the classes happened, my heart was so filled with joy and happiness that I could literally cry. And right now it makes me emotional to think like, okay, here's my home and here's my way to offer, here's my way to heal. The right people will come at the right time. You know, people will come and go, but here's where I'm going to put my energy in and out. And yeah, and now I'm so happy that I've done it. It's taken a lot of energy. My personal time has been taken up a bit more, but I still find time for myself. And I just have loved watching the effects of people coming in and out and just being and helping people heal and helping people connect and just seeing the new faces in the community come through the door. And yeah, and I hope I'm not thinking too far ahead. I'm just month by month and year by year. And I can trust that life will guide me, because it always does. I just have to always get out of my own way.
Totally. Yeah. That's like one of the hardest lessons in the world. I think is like, you're the only one in your way. Get out of the way. Like,
Yep.
let this stuff happen. But yeah, that's so inspiring to hear. It's just amazing that you were able to create that and create it so fast. I think that it's one of those things where like sometimes we let those decisions kind of hold us back, or we're like, you know, I am going to do it, but it's just not the right time. And then maybe searching for a lease that's like 6 months down the road. And I mean, you acted really, really fast on this and just like turned it around really quick to get it open. Now that it's open, do you feel like that need is sort of fulfilled that you wanted from it? Like in terms of having that home base, like I'm just thinking for people who are listening, who are like, I want that home. Like I resonate with that. Like, do you feel like that has met that need to like give you that space for your teaching home?
Yeah, for sure. It has. In terms of other people listening, other instructors, other leaders, I think it really depends on what people's desires are. You know, are you an instructor that doesn't want to deal with the business side of things? You just want to show up and teach and you want to have a home? I would really encourage people to develop a relationship strongly with a studio. If you are a teacher or an instructor or someone who is teaching tons of different things and has many different hats that they wear and they are all over the place, I really encourage if it works within your community. I think every town, every province, every situation is different. But if it works and someone's craving it, I'd say go for it. Like, why not sign a 2-year? Like, don't sign a 5-year, but sign a 2-year lease or do a 1-year. In Yellowknife, I signed a 1-year lease and just do it. Like, it doesn't have to be the forever game. It doesn't have to be I'm committing to this big, huge thing for 5-10 years. Like, you know, if you've got a desire and a passion to own a studio and to have a space and it makes business sense, which I think people really need to sit down first and foremost and really understand the business side of things. And I love helping coach people through the business side of stuff because, you know, there's a lot to think about that maybe sometimes gets pushed to the side. But if someone is in desire need of a home, they've got a clientele, you're not starting from the bottom up, and you've got people that love your classes and your offerings, I say do it, because it's an experience. And if it fails, it fails. If it's awesome, then there you go too. But again, it's just another experience to evolution. And maybe down the road, you might not be a studio owner anymore and you decide, wow, that was a great year and I decided I don't want to do this. I'm going to go off and do this. Or maybe you're an amazing studio owner and you learn like, oh, I love the back end business side. I don't want to teach anymore, so I'm going to bring in amazing teachers. So you see that all the time, but there's something about rooting down for sure and having a home base. At least for me, I know that I needed a home base for teacher trainings. I needed a home base for booty. I needed a home base for creation and filming and development. And just a spot that I could go to, which feels good for me. So where it goes, that's going to show me. I would love it if other leaders or other instructors with their passion that want to have a home base come towards me, because I would love to provide a home base for other people as well, because I think that every instructor and every teacher wants to give themselves to people and share their passion. But maybe there's some that don't want to have a home base. Definitely, I can understand that as well too, because it's a season. It's a season for just wanting to be free and teach at different places and not have the overhead for sure. But if the desire to have the space is there, I would encourage people to go for it.
Amazing. I love that. I'm curious, what has been like one of the most surprising things about owning a studio? Like you've talked about, having that business mindset, which you have, but has there been anything that's been kind of like, I didn't expect this?
Let me think. I didn't expect. Oh, I know. This is hilarious. This just happened the other day. So, I shouldn't say names, but electricity. I'm learning that really I'm not using any power. I think my power bill was like $2.50. But because I am a commercial space, the cost to distribute the energy and the power is like insane amount. So my power bill was insane, and that was a little shock, and I had to work through that. And I thought, okay, it's going to be that much every month. Breathe and just focus on flow, in and out, in and out. I'll pay for the bill, and hopefully more money will come in to help support that. But that was a big shock to me, just because I'm a commercial space, that the distribution cost to have power is so much more than just what the power costs are. So that was a huge shock.
Because you're like because you're a business space, you have to pay like a higher rate, or you just have to pay like a flat rate, or what is it?
No, it's just a higher rate to distribute the energy.
Oh, that's so weird.
Very interesting. I guess it's like meter readings, and I have no idea. It's a little bit over my head. So, but I learned that. So commercial spaces cost a lot more than just having regular power. So even if your power bill is only $2.50, it's gonna look like $100.
Okay, gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely a shocking one for sure. You're like, but we keep all the lights off. This makes no sense.
I know. So I sat there and I thought, well, I could leave all the lights on and play my music longer. One day I literally sat in the dark because I was afraid of using too much power. I thought my power bill would be expensive. And then after that phone call, I thought, I'm not going to sit with the lights off anymore.
Yeah, for sure. That's an interesting one. Is there anything else that's been kind of shocking or surprising?
It's been beautiful to see different people come to me. I asked the universe to bring on other healing modalities and people to come into the space to rent and to share things. So it's been kind of cool to see, who has stepped up, who has kind of come in and, congratulated me on the beautiful space and shown interest and in collaboration. And there's been a retreat run through here by a life coach. We hosted an amazing grief ceremony with a healer from the Kootenays. We've had some sound bowl stuff. I'm going to be doing some fundraisers, and just hopefully renting it out to just other things that help people heal. So that's been interesting. The word around town of people seeing it on Facebook and hearing about it, that's been kind of cool. And I wish the hearing about it would turn into feet coming through the door a bit more. But I know people's lives are busy, so I just have to find a way to get more people in, because once they come in, they love how it feels. They think the space is beautiful. But it's been an interesting journey. I can't think of anything that's been a huge shock right now. but just going through the process of what works, what doesn't, and getting up every day and doing it again, but loving it and working through all the little hiccups that come along the way.
Totally. Yeah. No, that makes sense. You mentioned this a little bit earlier, but just you said you're like a lot busier now and having like less personal time. How do you sort of make sure that you do have that personal time and make sure that you still are able to do those things that you love to do and make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well?
So I have definitely found it difficult in terms of teaching tons of classes and all of the to-do lists in my mind and the computer end of things, and seeing as though I do it all myself, it's a lot. So I've just learned to be less hard on myself if I can't get out as often as I'd like. I just do my best to take a little breather there, and even if it means throwing my earbuds in for like a phone call meeting and taking a 20-minute walk around the river, I try to throw that in when I can. I try to keep the weekends to myself to get out. So I choose Saturday morning, and then I usually take Saturday day, Sunday day to get outside and do all the things that I love. I could quite easily have more classes on the weekend, but that I know that that's not what would do me well, and then I couldn't be a good leader. If other instructors wanted to come around and take on, some classes over the weekend, I'd be totally open to that. But I know that I want to leave that space for myself. And I think that it just takes time to figure out, okay, even if it's 20 minutes, taking my headphones out for a phone call, walking around the river and taking the call, I try to get some sunshine and fresh air to do that. And controlling my mind of all the lists, the to-dos, and I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, and really prioritizing, okay, what has to get done today, what can be put on the back burner a little bit, and then just, being more gentle in terms of like the to-dos, because the to-dos can make you do nothing. And I've been there before when the to-dos are so big that you actually do nothing.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. It's so overwhelming sometimes to look at your to-do list and it's so big that you're just like kind of go into like a stupor where you're like, I can't take action on any of this stuff right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So mental health and personal stuff for me, I've really needed to kind of take care of. So, going to do acupuncture or yoga nidra, or just trying to really get outside and take those times. And I've used my hot tub in my building the last couple of times.
Nice.
That definitely needs to be done. So just prioritizing what makes me feel good to be me. What makes me feel good to be a good leader? What do I have to do and not feel guilty about it in order to do my job?
For sure. Which is, it's so hard sometimes. And I feel like I've definitely struggled with at times where like, I will be like, I'm going to the gym this morning, or I'm going to this class, or I'm going to take a bath tonight. And that's stuff that's like for me. And then, emails pop up and things come up and I'm like, oh, well, I should just handle this instead. I feel like the amount of times I've done that, especially at night with like, oh, I'm going to go spend 30 minutes reading, or I'm going to take a really nice long bath. And I feel like now I just have to put my foot down with those things. Like, this can wait until tomorrow. Like, it's not that big of a deal for my own sanity, because it's like, if I do those things, and then I push off my self-care, then I have to go to bed because otherwise I'm going to be exhausted the next day.
Yes. And it comes and goes. We're good at it sometimes. And there's other times where, sitting up on our computer doing those emails like helps us actually relax and calm down and keeps our minds focused. So there's times when, like that's okay. You got to do that. And I think it's just making sure that you can also then let it slide, let it sit, and also do the other stuff as well too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. It is like finding that balance, because there is those moments where, spending an hour just clearing out your inbox might actually be the thing that helps you get that really good sleep that night, as opposed to like saying you're going to do it in the morning, but knowing that you've got like 10 other million things to do, plus meetings and calls and teaching and that sort of thing. So,
oh, exactly. And it was really interesting. I did another podcast, and I was sitting with Katrina Birch from Rocky Mountain Soap, and she said something that I loved, and it was, balance doesn't really exist. And I was sitting there thinking, okay, how's she going to back this? What does she have to say? And then I just fell in love with what she said, where, you know, especially as a business owner and as a mom and as a like whatever, whoever we are in life, but sometimes buckets are going to be more filled than the other, and that's okay. Sometimes we have to put our head down. Sometimes we have to, you know, be so out of balance to get back into balance. I totally believe that. But there is really no perfect balance. Like, and if people have figured it out and how to live that perfect balance, like every month for a year, kudos to them. But honestly, there's times where, like, even when Christmas holidays come now, like things are going to be a little bit out of balance. We're going to be spending so much time with our family and filling that cup, and maybe work and, other things are going to be out of a balance a little bit, but that's okay too. And sometimes we're opening a business and we have to put all of our energy into the business, and maybe we can't play the role of, mom or friend that great because our energy focus is one area. And that's okay too, because then the buckets are going to shift. They're constantly going to change. And she was going on and on about this. And I'm like, I love this analogy. And I'm using this and sharing this with women to realize that it's okay to be out of balance. But I think the most important thing is to recognize when you are out of balance and how it feels. And then what do you got to do to come back, and not be hard on yourself when you are out of balance.
Yeah, I really like that. And it makes me think about even, something like you opening your studio. Like you said it took a lot of time and energy, and I definitely believe that. Like, I'm sure that you were there all hours of the day and night as you were getting it renovated and ready to open. But, that's the type of thing that sure, you could have probably like taken time to spend time with friends or I don't know, be going out and doing other things. But would that have served you in that moment? Or would you have been like doing those other things, just wishing you were at the studio?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I love that. I'm going to adopt that and probably share that again too. So thank you for that.
I know, it's so good, right? It's just like, you have to put your focus and your energy into things that are important at that time, and other things, yeah, they're going to slide.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're going to recognize, okay, now I got to go back to this bucket, and how do I refill that? So now that I've got the studio up and running, I'm like, okay, I got to make sure that I get out for my personal time. Okay, friends time, scheduling in little hangouts, and that fill me up, and getting back to making time for all the things that are important to you.
Absolutely. I love that. Are there any sort of business lessons that you've learned from opening a studio that you could share with listeners today?
Business lessons. I would say it's really important to be really clear on your services. And it's hard. Like, the hardest thing is getting people through the door, right? Like, knowing that you've got stuff that's awesome that people would like. But just, yeah, I think it's just, customer relations and getting people to come try, having like an introductory offer to letting people come through the door. That's, I don't know what the lesson would be, but just, I guess for me right now, it's patience. Is learning patience, because there's a lot of people in the community that love being active, and, that I know would love my focus classes and my cross training classes, and, just walking, living, breathing it, and being open to say like, hey, come try, and, offering free stuff, put it out there, but just being patient in terms of people will come when they're ready and come when they want, and word will spread. And I think that, and business practices are constantly shifting and changing, and just going with the flow, I guess. But I wouldn't say that there's one big lesson that I would have right now.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, in regards to what you were saying about being patient with people coming, I definitely feel like that would be really, really challenging, especially when you're like really passionate about something. But how do you kind of strike that like like, especially in a small community where you know a lot of people because you've been in the fitness community there for a while. It's like you see somebody, you're like, hey, I'd love to see you at this studio. You should come try these classes. Here's how you can find the information. But like, how do you kind of like, I guess, you know, the next time you see them, do you follow up with them? Like, how do you kind of find that balance between like convincing people that they should come try this new thing that you're excited about and like not feeling like you're being annoying, I guess?
I know that's a tough one. I've actually changed the way I do it now. So I find that there's so many people in the community that it's a lot of word of mouth. So people that have been like, oh, I've been hearing about this. I need to come, and they're like, oh, so and so told me I should really try, or like, oh, I gotta get back, and I really need this and that, and I just kind of sit back and I'm like, yeah, you should totally come. Like I'm less pushy with it, or I just sit back and I'm like, okay, they say they want to come or they say they want to try, then we'll see. It's up to them. Like it's not me that's going to make them come, it's themselves. So I just have kind of sat back and like had so giving people invites, giving people the opportunity. Have mentioned it a couple of times. If I see people out, I'm like, you should totally come try. But I leave it as more of like a open ended with less pressure, just an open ended opportunity.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to do it. And I was asking, yeah, from like a selfish point, like I feel like I really struggle with that, like, oh, I want to like tell them about it, but I don't want to be like too in their face about it. And I love the idea of like, you know, you can put it out there without being too, I guess, like salesy, you could say. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know that's really hard because especially when you're really passionate about it. And like for me, I see I see what people like need sometimes, or I can feel like, oh my gosh, like they would actually truly really benefit from this. If I could remove myself like from the business side of things and like literally just like act out of, and that's what I always do, like act out of passion and healing when I see or hear what a girl or a guy or whatever's going on in their life. And I think, oh my gosh, I know because I have been there. This would really help you. Like, but then, it depends on how people take it too, right? Like for me, it's not a sales pitch. If I could throw the money and throw the numbers and do my job and my why and not it be related to any business stuff, I do it. It's about where it's coming from for me, like feeling the joy that beauty brings to women's lives. And when I see someone that I know that joy would change and shift their energy or help them through a breakup or help them with like just not feeling centered and grounded, like I want to share that with them. But again, it's them. They have to decide to step into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You also touched on something there that I want to ask about because I think that this is something that a lot of people kind of in the yoga wellness space struggle with. And it's that when you really love what you do and you see how like positive the impact can be, it is, you can get in the mindset of like, I would happily do this for the rest of my life for free if I didn't need to make money, but like we need to make money. So I think you do a really great job, at least like from my outside perspective of your business, of like charging what you're worth, asking for what you need, like not just going out of like not just like offering all your classes for free, but finding a good balance of like, hey, come try this versus like, hey, this is a paid offering. Yet like you still have this mentality of like, I love this so much that if it was possible to do it for free, I would. How do you kind of balance that like love of something that you would do for free, yet making sure that you still charge what you're worth, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And that's such a great question. It's such an awesome topic of conversation. I would love to sit in a room with a whole bunch of other yogis or fitness professionals and really dive deep into this question. I would love to do that. So I would say over the past couple of years, I've learned that it kind of comes to me. I'm like, okay, I want to give this person this free trial, and I'll do it. And then I also have come to learn that you can't give it away for free all the time. You really have to respect yourself, and respect your energy. And at the end of the day, you're a business. It's a business. And I think it becomes a little bit more, I don't know what word to use, but when you don't want to be taken advantage of, or you don't want to instill poor business practices, it's important to like really be honest and be like, yep, okay, this is what it costs, and just not be so wishy-washy with it and just go with it. And people will pay if they want to be there. And then you can do good deeds for clients that are returning clients. You can do good deeds for people who you feel, need a free trial or that kind of thing. But you have to pay your bills. You have to put food on the table. You have to try to find a way to make a living because no one else is paying us. No one else is giving us a salary. So you just have to really stick to strong business practices. I'd say even more so now that I have the studio, I have to be a little bit more stronger with the business side of things because I tend to be a little bit of a pushover sometimes, because I love things so much and I want to help people. So I'd say that the biggest, I'm totally forgetting the question that you asked me now. But the biggest thing is really valuing what you're worth. And there needs to be an exchange. Like, we go to the grocery store, we buy food, we pay for it. So we shouldn't show up to a class and not expect to pay for it. Or we shouldn't expect it's a service. We don't go to get a massage and not expect to pay for it. We don't go put gas in our car and not expect to pay for it. So I think, yes, it's a leisure. Yes, it's a non-tangible item, but it's a feeling, and it's health, and it's wellness, and it's people's mental health. And I think that if you can show them that this will help them and it makes them feel good, that they'll be willing to pay for it. And some people aren't. Some people are like, well, why would I go to a class when I could just go for a run outside? Sure, fine. Do that for the rest of your life. Have injuries, or yeah, if it's just about the fitness for you, then that's great. But maybe there's something a little deeper that you could experience when you come try something new. So I think that people will put their money to health and wellness practices that they feel really bring something to their life. And yeah, I don't even know where I'm going with this now. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought.
No, that's
Because it is such a touchy subject. It is. It's like, I have an instructor who I just spent, an hour on the phone the other day of like, Tara, like, what do I do about the girls that just show up and then they don't want to pay and they leave? And I'm like, you can't let that happen. I'm like, it's okay to let it happen a couple times, but then at the end of the day, like, you are a business too.
mm-hmm.
And you need to pay your bills and you have expenses. And like, I think sometimes, well, studio owners know how much my body costs, but like literally there's a lot more expenses than people think when you own a space. And for people to just come in the room and count heads and then calculate how much people are paying, like, that is the most worst thing someone could do because they don't know all the other things that go on, to actually make that happen.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I agree too. Like it is a complicated subject. And I think a lot of it again is like that inner work that we need to do. Like all of us grew up with a different background with money. We all have our own money stories. We all have our thoughts, feelings, philosophies around money. And it seems to be this thing that in our society, it's like that touchy subject that we just don't really approach, but then it's like the entire way that business runs. So it's a bit complicated when you've got something that is a sensitive subject that is like your exchange.
Exactly. And I think what people are afraid to do is like, maybe if money is an issue, but they would want to come, like, it depends on the situation too. But if someone came to me and said, hey, I really want to come, but I can't afford it. But here's like, would you be willing to do this? Or could we do an exchange with this? And I think that being a business owner, sometimes it's awesome to be able to make those decisions and to do trades or to help someone out or to give gifts. But yeah, it comes in little waves, but that's the hardest thing, I think, for someone to step up and just to say, like, if it really truly was an issue of like, I really, really, really want this and need to come, but I can't afford it, and to explain themselves, then that's better than just thinking like, I can't afford it, so I'm not going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Amazing.
Because
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, just because like that is a touchy subject, and you know that's not where I operate from, and it's sad that like I hate that money's attached to what I do. But it's life. It's the world that we live in. Like, and like I said, if I could live in a community where no one, no, all the community did was trade their services, and I could give people happiness and love and connection and fitness, and there was no money involved. Like, oh, it's the best, because I think more people would do things. And then if
Totally.
they could trade for like, okay, maybe they make bread for the community, or like they do different services. Like, that's amazing, because it just makes the world go round. And it just sucks that money can get in the way of people's opportunities sometimes.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And yeah, thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else you want to share about Studio B or anything from the last couple of years before we wrap up here?
What do I want to share about Studio B? Probably just if there's leaders out there, or other, yoga teachers or health and wellness professionals, or anyone that is looking to, share their passion and themselves. And, I've taken the risk to put down roots, but I also love to help other people kind of get up and running within their businesses and share themselves. So if people are wanting to come check out the studio, or travel to Canmore and host a workshop, or do a teacher training here, like I rent the studio out, or I help kind of, share the space, that kind of thing. And then with just people listening in the community, just to come try, to always be open to new things, and to not be afraid of not being good at something, or thinking, well, I don't do yoga, or I don't do meditation, or I don't dance, or, to rip all mind barriers and labels of what things are, and just trying, because our healing process and our journey through life is all about evolution and just trying new things. And everything we do is an experience and a chapter to something else and to something new that's going to give us more knowledge and experience. So I would just love it if, some more people came through the door to try different things and try different classes.
Amazing. And where can people go to find you, like online?
Yeah, so I have the website. So it's just studiobcanmore.com. So they can look that up. I also have the Facebook page, which is Studio B. And on Instagram, it's Studio B Canmore. And all of the information with the schedule and classes and retreats and workshops is always posted. And I could also be found on the Mind Body app. And all of the classes are scheduled in there as well, too.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation today, Tara. This has been so awesome.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we got to chat again and recap, and look at you, Amanda. Like, I was your first podcast, and look at all that you've done now with your business, and all the people that you've interviewed and shared, and it's been amazing. I remember first meeting you as well too, and just seeing you live your life and follow your dreams and build yourself along the way. It's amazing. So
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. And if there's anything else that people have questions with, or you have questions with, you can share my contact information, and people can reach out or email or connect with me. But it's been awesome to do these podcasts with you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, I hope that you enjoyed that episode of the podcast as much as I did. It was so fun catching up with Tara. It's really been incredible to see how much her business has grown over the last couple of years, and to just see how all of the hard work and time and effort and energy that she's put into this thing that she's so passionate about has really paid off in a number of different ways. So if you are in the Canmore area, like she mentioned, definitely go and check out Studio B. It's a really, really beautiful location. Otherwise, you can go check out everything online, like she mentioned. As always, you can find show notes on the website at mbomyoga.com. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Mastering the Business of Yoga. And you can join the private Facebook community at Yoga Business Badasses. Every week, we're having really fun, supportive conversations. It's a great way to ask questions about business related things, which kind of encompasses all things yoga teaching, because at the end of the day, we are not yoga teachers without our businesses, and we can't be, business bosses without our yoga teaching. So I'll leave you with that. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, anything like that, send me an email at info@mbomyoga.com. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Namaste.